The biggest topic in the news right now is the American presidential election. Let's advance your English fluency by learning some expressions that the candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were using in their campaign speeches. You will learn both some political vocabulary and some useful everyday expressions that you can use in order to sound like a native speaker. And to help you reach true fluency, make sure that you get my free downloadable PDF titled 20 Essential English Expressions for Professionals. You can get it by clicking on the link below. It contains 20 of the most common professional idioms and their definitions, along with conversation practice questions to help you master these expressions and use them in real-life situations. Plus, there is a fill-in-the-blank quiz at the end for some extra practice. Understanding and using these expressions will bring you one step closer to sounding like a native English speaker in a professional environment. So, go to the link below to get your copy and start practicing today. Okay, let's learn the first expression. The word is baton, and in a race, runners pass the baton to another person on their team. So we say to pass the baton, or to have the baton, or to carry the baton. But it's also used as an expression to express responsibility or leadership passed from one person to another. Let's listen to the way Kamala Harris used it.
And now, the baton is in our hands.
She said, now the baton is in our hands. And that means the responsibility or leadership has now been passed to us. Let's look at some more sentences. For example, we can say, after the election, the outgoing president will hand over the baton to the new leader. Or we can say, the retiring CEO passed the baton to the new director. Let's listen to how some other people used it.
And I pass the baton, but I do not leave you.
You pass the baton to the next person. Well, in life, we pass that baton to the next generation. And it helps them to succeed in that moment.
Let's learn the meaning of to vet someone. What does it mean if I say he was vetted? Let's listen to Donald Trump use the verb to vet.
When you have open borders, there's no checking, there's no vetting.
To vet means to thoroughly check or investigate someone, to carefully examine in advance. For example, to find out if they're suitable for a job, to check their background. And he said, when you have open borders, there's no checking, there's no vetting. And that means with open borders, there's no process to check or to investigate the people who are entering the United States. For example, we can say, they vet all job candidates before scheduling the interviews. And that means they find out as much as they can before hiring them or before interviewing them. We can say, have they been vetted? Yes, they have been thoroughly vetted. It's essential to vet the sources of information before accepting them as true. Let's listen to how some other people used it.
This could be a great way to vet who is qualified.
And had a committee that vetted all of these proposals from faculty across the campus.
To make sure that it's vetted very carefully.
The next one is strictly a political expression. Up and down the ticket. Let's listen to the way Kamala Harris used it.
Who have been active in their Republican parties for years, who have supported Republican candidates up and down the ticket.
In politics, a ticket refers to a group of candidates running together in an election, typically from the same party. So we can say the Democratic ticket or the Republican ticket. The presidential candidate is on the top of the ticket. And we can say further down the ticket. And those are the representatives, the governors, the mayors, and so on. Kamala Harris said, some have supported Republican candidates up and down the ticket. And that means some people have voted for Republican candidates for many different offices, from local positions to the presidency. We can say voters are being encouraged to support Democrats or to support Republicans up and down the ticket in the upcoming election. Let's learn the meaning of the verb to endorse. What does it mean if I say, I endorse him or I endorse her? Let's listen to Donald Trump.
Border Patrol, they're phenomenal. They endorsed me last week. Unanimous endorsement of the Border Patrol.
He said, they endorsed me last week. To endorse someone is to publicly or officially support someone, to announce to the public who you support and what you support. So when Trump said they endorsed me last week, that means this group publicly expressed their support for Trump. We can say that organization is endorsing the candidate due to his policies on education. Many celebrities endorse various products on social media. And some celebrities endorse presidential candidates. They publicly announce who they support in order to try to influence voters. Let's look at the next expression. Dare I say? Dare I say? Let's listen to Kamala Harris use it.
You all being here with me might be a bit surprising, dare I say unusual.
We say, dare I say, to introduce an opinion that might be controversial or surprising. Kamala Harris said, you all being here might be a bit surprising, dare I say, unusual. And she is expressing somewhat cautiously that it's surprising or even strange that those people gathered there. We can say, the movie was, dare I say, the worst one I've ever seen. Or his attitude was, dare I say, somewhat arrogant during the meeting. The new design is, dare I say, much better than the previous one. Let's listen to how some other people used it.
I was accepted. I was protected. Dare I say it, I was loved.
And some of us, dare I say, cannot even go to the bathroom without our phones.
Threatening the health and, dare I say, survival of the democracy.
The word press has a lot of different meanings. Let's listen to the way Donald Trump used it.
You know what? If we had an honest press, a press that wrote the truth, we would be so much further along as a country.
He said, if we had an honest press, a press that told the truth, we could be so much further along as a country. The press means the news, the journalists. We can use the press this way. He gave a statement to the press. The scandal was widely covered in the press. What does the expression to be at stake mean? Let's listen to Kamala Harris.
Because at stake in this race are the democratic ideals that our founders and generations of Americans before us have fought for. At stake in this election is the Constitution of the United States, its very self.
And this word is pronounced exactly the same as this word. So at stake or I'm eating a steak, same pronunciation. At stake means something important that is at risk or something important that is being decided. She said, because at stake at this race are the democratic ideals. And that means that she believes that the results of this election will have an impact on the survival of democratic values. We often say there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake in this negotiation, so we need to be careful. There's a lot of money at stake, and that means we could potentially lose a lot of money. Your reputation is at stake, or our children's future is at stake. Let's go on to the next word. Do you know the meaning of the verb to plunder? Let's listen to Trump.
Allowed your jobs to be plundered and stolen from you.
To plunder means to steal or to take by force, especially in a chaotic situation. Trump said, allowed your jobs to be plundered and stolen from you. And he means that jobs that have been taken away unfairly or forcefully or unethically, leaving workers without employment. For example, we can say, during the crisis, several stores were plundered by looters. Or pirates used to plunder ships and take their goods. The corrupt government officials plundered the country's funds for personal gain. What's the difference between the word people and the word folks? Why do we sometimes say folks instead of people? Let's listen to Kamala Harris using folks.
And at some point in the career of the folks who joined me on stage,
folks is a more casual term for the word people. We often use it to convey warmth and friendliness. She said, the folks who joined me on stage, meaning the people who were there with her on stage. We can say, I want to thank all the folks who helped me. Or we can say, how are you folks doing today? Have you heard Porky Pig saying, that's all, folks?
That's all, folks.
Have you ever seen those cartoons? Donald Trump used the idiomatic expression, "It's like taking candy from a baby." What do you think that expression means? Let's listen.
North Carolina lost over 300,000 manufacturing jobs, like taking candy from a baby.
Like taking candy from a baby is something very easy to do, and something usually done unfairly. He implied that something was taken away from the people without much resistance, like taking candy from a baby. We can say, winning that game was so easy, it was like taking candy from a baby. It was so simple. It was like taking candy from a baby. Convincing him to agree was like taking candy from a baby. Let's learn the expression to hang by a thread.
Look at what's happened in Michigan with the automobiles. I mean, they were the capital of the world for automobiles. Now they're really just hanging by a thread.
To be hanging by a thread is to be in a very unstable or dangerous situation. He said they were in the capital of automobiles in the world, and now they're hanging by a thread. And that means that the automobile industry used to be strong, but now it's in a very bad state. We can use it this way. Their business is hanging by a thread. After the recent layoffs, many employees feel that their jobs are hanging by a thread. He is still in the hospital. His life is hanging by a thread. I feel very unstable. I feel like I'm hanging by a thread. Let's listen to how some other people used it.
Collapsed. The building I had just come out of was hanging by a thread.
Their business is hanging by a thread. Their culture's toxic.
In fact, some of your marriages are hanging by a thread.
Let's learn the meaning of the word office when it's related to politics. Let's listen to Kamala Harris.
Anyone who seeks the highest office in our land.
Office refers to a position of authority, often in government. The highest office in our land means the presidency of the United States. We can also say to run for office, or to take office, or to hold office. He decided to run for office. And that means he decided to be a candidate for a political position, maybe the presidency, or maybe for governor or for mayor. We can say it happened during his time in office. The president-elect will officially take office in January. Do you know the meaning of the phrasal verb to wrap up? What does it mean if I say, let's wrap up? Let's listen to Donald Trump.
We're 14 days from sort of wrapping it up.
To wrap up means to finish or to complete something. He said, we are 14 days from wrapping it up. And what he is saying is that there are only 14 days left until the campaign ends, until the election. And now there are even fewer days left. And we can use to wrap up this way. We can say, we need to wrap up the meeting by 5 p.m. Let's wrap up this project before the deadline. To wrap up is a phrasal verb. And I always say you can't be fluent in English unless you're using phrasal verbs. And that's why I created my course, Phrasal Verbs for Fluent English. Make sure you get it by going to AccurateEnglish.com. You will learn the most common phrasal verbs that native speakers use. Okay, let's go on to the next expression. Do you know the meaning of the expression to have a corner on something? Let's listen to Kamala Harris use it.
Because nobody has a corner on the good ideas. They actually come from many places.
To have a corner on something means to have exclusive control or dominance over something, and to be more successful at it than anyone else. And she said, nobody has a corner on good ideas. And that means no single person or group has all the good ideas, and that ideas come from many different people or in many different places. And we can use it this way. This tech company has a corner on the market for innovative smartphone designs. While they have the corner on some products, competitors are emerging. Let's learn the expression to cover a lot of territory. What does it mean if I say we've covered a lot of territory? It doesn't mean territory or land. What do you think it means? Let's listen to Trump use it.
You have a lot of things in the state. You cover a lot of territory. Peter, they cover a lot of territory in this state.
It means to do many things, to address many topics. And he said, you do a lot of things in this state. You cover a lot of territory in this state. And he means that this state, North Carolina, produces many different things. It has various industries or areas of importance. And we can use it this way. The speaker covered a lot of territory in the presentation, from healthcare to technology. We will cover a lot of territory in this meeting. Let's listen to how some other people used it.
Thank you for doing that. We have covered a lot of territory.
Over these 5 weeks, we've covered a lot of territory.
Well, we've really covered a lot of territory. We only have a minute left.
Because we have now less than 2 hours to cover a lot of territory.
Have you ever been stranded? What does to be stranded mean? Let's listen to the way Donald Trump used it.
When the people of North Carolina were stranded and drowning in Hurricane Helene.
To be stranded means to be left alone, usually in a helpless situation, without a way to move forward. And he said, when the people of North Carolina were stranded and drowning in Hurricane Helene. And he means that the people were left helpless during the hurricane. There was no one to help them. We can say, the hikers were stranded without food or water. Many travelers were stranded at the airport due to the storm. They were stranded in the middle of the ocean. I hope I never get stranded anywhere. Have you ever been stranded? If some of these expressions were new for you, I suggest that you watch the video again and take notes and then make your own sentences. Make your own examples and make sure that you say them out loud. That way, you're much more likely to remember them. Thanks for watching and keep practicing your English.